Welcome back to On Topic, a partnership between the Paul Simon Public Policy Institute at SIU Carbondale and WSIU. This week's guest is the Director of Debate at SIU. The nationally ranked debate team talks about all sorts of topics from all over the world, so we thought we'd talk to Todd Graham about some things that are happening both here at home and across the country. Todd, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, sure thing.
One of the things that I'm sure you talk about with your debate team is tone, and not just what you say, but how you say it. And people are talking a lot about the leaders in the United States today and their tone.
Yeah, the tone has changed dramatically over the course of, and it began to change, 10, 15, 20 years ago with the tone that we started to expect. So with more and more Americans listening to talk radio, with more and more Americans listening to the programs on both Fox News or CNN or others, I think we began what I call a thrashing hysteria. And so that's now what we've become used to. And that's actually filtered up. So that filtered up into even our presidential candidate last year. So when Donald Trump won the presidency, his tone is unlike any president that we've had before. And now that we see it, the worry is that becoming a norm? And will that filter back down and become a norm for society and how we should talk?
How does that affect both the way we govern and the way we are governed when you have this rhetoric this way?
Well, I do think that it begins to filter down. So you see a lot more things like name calling, et cetera. While that's always sort of been prevalent, it's become a lot more prevalent. I'm trying to explain to friends of mine that I've never seen in my lifetime members of the same party as the president calling out the president by name and calling him names and saying things like he needs a daycare, center, et cetera. These are things I've never seen in my lifetime, and perhaps have never happened before in our history. So, and it begins with the tone of the president. Many people have said, and whether you like him or not, many people have said that while Donald Trump expects things like loyalty, he doesn't necessarily give that to those around him. And I think that's troublesome in the tone that he sets among people around him. If you watch the press conferences, Sarah Huckabee Sanders has a tone unlike any press secretary we've ever seen before. She comes out and it's combative from the beginning to the end, and that's just not typical.
Unfortunately, we run out of time before we run out of ways to talk about this. Certainly the tone and rhetoric, something we're going to continue to follow. Todd Graham is the Director of Debate at SIU Carbondale. Todd, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You've been listening and watching WSIU On Topic, a partnership with Southern Illinois University's Paul Simon Public Policy Institute. Thanks for watching. I'm Jennifer Fuller.